Whoa, what's up? Today's video is on living single. Now, I know a lot of y'all probably be like, oh, that's a woman's show, this, that, and the third. But for me, it was more than that, you dig? Because up to the 90s, all we had saw was the family unit. And in the 90s, you dig? Because we went from good times, I believe they really started in the 80s. I think Family Matters started in 89. Cosby Show was they really started off in the 80s, you dig? So when shows like Martin and Living Single came on, it was giving us outside of that family unit, you dig? And that was different from us seeing a dude who died first, or the crackhead, or the gangster rapper that was just now exploding onto the scene, real heavy. So shows like this gave people a better image of the black person, if you ask me, you dig? So it wasn't just a woman's show or a black woman's show. This shit was a black fucking show to me. That's how I feel about it. It covered everything from racism, sexism, politics, all type of shit. And what was real about it, you did, they ain't just beat up no black man. In fact, the black man was uplifted to me, you dig, because to me, the black man would not only admit his wrongs and all, he would defend his truths. And the main person who made sure that shit like that happened was my partner right here, Kyle fucking Barker. Now, to the regular viewer, you dig, they might not like Kyle Barker. They'll probably think, oh, he arrogant, snooty, and egotistical. And you know what? Most of the time, they would be fucking right. But think about it. It was the 90s, you dig? That's exactly what I needed to see. Because at first, I ain't even like him. Like, who is this old corny dude with the damn suit and the weird ass clothes he was wearing? But little did I notice that man was engulfed in African culture. If you pay attention to Kyle, when they show that apartment, this dude had nothing but African shit going. He had his locks getting rocked. So as I grew up, as I was growing up and watching this show, I'm like, you know what? Kyle is exactly what the fuck the 90s needed, bruh. Think about it. He'll hop on the scene like, bitch, I'm a fearless black man climbing the corporate ladder and I look damn good doing it on you motherfuckers. That was his attitude. And you know what? I came to respect that shit. Like, fuck that. And he ain't never let them corporate giant dudes push him around. Remember that. You dig? I remember that one time where one of these higher ranking black dudes was wanted to date Regine, another character. We gonna get to her. And he was lying and saying that he had smashed and all type of stuff. And Kyle didn't give a fuck about that dude position. He checked him like, hold up, you dig? That's my partner. That's my friend. You hear me? You ain't gonna be lying on her, you dig? And what type of real man lie on himself? Where I come from, you never lie on who you had sex with, because when people find out, they gonna look down upon you. And what was fucked up, the casual viewer might even think that he was a womanizer, but from what I just told y'all, that shit was far from the truth, you dig? And in fact, he was really in love with one fucking woman, and y'all know who that was. Maxine, and we gonna get to that shit. He was really in love with her. All the other women he was with, he was actually dating and doing his own little egotistical shit, but that's what we needed, bruh. A strong-ass fucking black man who stood on how he felt, you dig? But know what? Let's talk about the woman that he was madly fucking in love with, the one woman. And know what? She my motherfucking favorite character on the show, and you gotta know who that is. Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, you hear me? AKA the Maverick. Y'all should know about that. Because this woman character was definitely a maverick. A lot of people sleeping on the back and forward between Kyle Barker and Maxine Shaw, too. Because if you think Pam and Martin is classic, these two was classic with the back and forward. But what made theirs even better is that they was two people who was exactly alike. They both was climbing the corporate ladder. They both was egotistical. They both was liberated people. So you was always waiting to see what Kyle end up with Maxine, and then they even ended up having intercourse. So that really had you on like, oh, now they'll finally be together. But the next episode, they back and forth fighting with each other. And don't forget about the times where this woman had to fight a lot of battles in the corporate world because she was a lawyer, attorney at law, blah, blah, blah. And they used to undervalue the fuck out of her work. I remember one episode, she was even fired, you dig? She stood her ground. She came back at the end of that episode, and the black man was just the black one, because you know they send the black one in to do the dirty work. He came in, you know, I had to convince my partners to let you back in and stuff, you know, and she was like, all right, cool. And then she was like, cool, I'm back, I'm back. And he was like, well, you know, you can't take no cases until you help lower class, just not coming in students, this, that, and the third. And she was like, oh, all right, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, well, you know, your office is then downgraded. And she was like, what? And then he said, you know, it's going to be down in a blah, blah, blah. You know, the worst part ever. And she stood in that office, I believe, and she was like, she looked around after he left, you know, like she was just supposed to be so gracious to him. He left, and she looked around, and she was like, man, fuck this. And she quit that fucking job. Like, she stood on her morals, you dig? And that's what a lot of shows don't have these days. Like, this was a strong-ass woman. And it ain't like, oh, she's so strong, she didn't know the woman's place. No, because she fucking loved the men. If you watch this shit, she was sexually liberated, you dig? She messed with Terrence Howard, remember? He was a youngster. That was a big subject on this show. An older woman messing with a younger man. See, that's another little aspect that came into play because that's a big thing in the black community. So she was an older woman messing with Terrence Howard, a younger man, and her friends was like really judging her about that, you know? But in the end, she found out, hey, if I feel comfortable loving this person, he feel comfortable with me, he of age, then we together, this, that, and the third. And I believe in that shit too. You know, the dude was over 21. But it's a lot of issues like that that show the male and female aspect of it. Because while she was being embarrassed of that young man, the young man was like, look, if you're not mature enough to handle this, then you call me back when you grow up, you did. So it was showing us both aspects, like that man ain't just a pushover, he's a grown man, you dig. So it was so many aspects of this motherfucking show, but this character specifically, Maxine, she stood on the front lines of a lot of battles on this show, and not only did she do that, she was fucking hilarious, y'all. That's why she was my favorite character, bro. She'll just come in them people's house and shit, eating up everything, you know, and the back and forth between her and Regine. Matter of fact, let's get to Regine, y'all. Here she is right here. Regine Hunter. So off back, I know what y'all saying. Gold digger, the gold digger character. And that's exactly what she was in a lot of ways, but you had to, just like the Kyle Barker character, pay attention to her character, you dig? It was a lot of reasons she was who she was. Like I remember on one episode, the counselor told her that the reason that you're searching for a wealthy man or a man already of status is because you're afraid to compete. So you'll rather already have it there. That way you can live freely and comfortable. And she just like, shut up. And if y'all notice Khadijah, her friend who we gonna get to, Khadijah always pointed out, you from the projects. She'll always be like, you forget you from the same projects that I'm from, you know? And she'll be like, man, shut up. But on a lot of episodes, you'll see the project in her because she'll be G'd up a few times. You know, she'll be wearing Jordans and stuff. But as y'all said, let's go directly into the gold digger status of the character. Yes, she did sought after a lot of wealthy men, and that shit got her in trouble a lot of times, you know? But it seemed like her character developed, which was different in the 90s, because remember, we'll just have the sitcoms where on Family Matters, Urkel blow up the fucking whole house and the next day the house is restored. Her character and the rest of these characters on this show, their characters developed. As you saw as seasons went on, the way Regine moved was more mature. You understood her, you dig? She just wasn't like, oh, that one with the biggest watch. That one win. By the end of that fucking show, you understood the way she moved, you dig? And why she moved a certain way. Now, Khadijah, you dig? Since we spoke on Khadijah, let's get to her. Khadijah James, Jeremy. Now, Khadijah James will be considered like the best friend of the homeboy. She gave that aspect to the show, you know. Like, she'll be your best friend, the one who you play basketball with, you know, used to be in the rap cypher with and shit. So I liked her character too. I think Queen Latifah, who played the character, thought that this show was gonna be about her, But this show was about everybody, you dig? But as specifically as her character go, she was a woman who owned her. She loved her job. She loved what she did in the corporate world. And she built her magazine up from scratch, you dig? She loved Flavor magazine, you dig? That was her baby. And on top of that, it showed you how the corporate woman had the battle between like relationships in the corporate world. Because remember Scooter, that was her dude, who she was messing with. A lot of times her and Scooter would have like little arguments to where she was always busy. You know, she was always too busy for her love life a lot of times, you dig? But she always made time for him, you dig? So I always wanted to see black men was not shoved out of this show. They always had one of them with a damn love, you did, a love of their life or a black man that they was yearning for, and a stand-up black man who was yearning for their ass, you did. So we wasn't just pushed out, or the black these days is just a black benefactor, the man who give them money so they can be on a goddamn TV show and walk around with fake injections and this, that, and the third. The black man was really fucking stand up on this goddamn show. And speaking of how stand up the black man was, you did, let's get to this man right here. Overton Wakefield Jones, you heard me? Now, I know a lot of people be like, oh, he just a goofy dude on the show, but me, the person who is always supposedly the goofy nut job, is always the most stand-up and honest, real character to me. Now, yes, Overton was the dude who provided us comedic relief, you dig? And he was funny as fuck to me too, you dig? The little shit he'll come in and say. But take a look at the outlook of it. He was a handyman, you dig? A black man who loved his job. He loved working on shit and fixing shit. It was his whole reason for being outside of the goddamn Cleveland Browns, you know? So he showed us the blue collar working man, you know, like, dog him out, he do his janitor shit, then he come home, he crack open a beer, and he watch his Cleveland Browns, you know? But outside of that, he had the love of his life, which is the woman who stayed right next door called, what the fuck are that? Sinclair, you dig? My bad. But we gonna keep going. But he had his love, the love of his life. But on top of that, he was a stand-up dude. He barely would even look at other women, and he wasn't even with Sinclair yet, you dig? He'll be like, man, I feel bad if I went out with blah, 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 and me and Sinclair together. And Carl will be like, dog, you and Sinclair is not together right now, you heard me? You just going over there and cracking jokes with her. Y'all remember how the chase was with them, boy. I was so fucking mad at how long it took them two to finally fucking at least kiss each other. Now that part, I used to be mad as fuck. Like, dog, if you don't just go by her house already. But outside of that, this is another example of how stand-up the black man was. And this man, he believed in courting and shit like that. You know, he'll come through with flowers or certain gestures that you don't see in a black man on TV today, you dig? He was a stand-up brother. Outside of the people being blinded by, oh, he's just a dumb character who make the jokes, just that and the third. But that would bring us to who else? Fucking Sinclair, you dig? And this is her, Sinclair, you dig? And to be honest with y'all, I really didn't even like Sinclair character. I still don't really like Sinclair character. I like the sweetness of her, you know how she would be. But I hated how she was with Overton, dog. Like having that dude wait so fucking long, acting like she just so naive to his advances. Like it was that episode where a female started dating Overton and she was jealous and shit, talking about, oh, I just want to step out the way and let you be able to fix other people appliances now and shit. And I'm thinking, damn, that dude be spending every day with your ass, playing Monopoly and all type of shit, and you ain't even gave him a peck on the cheek yet. And Overton played it gangster because people was like, oh, you know, you would think he would be a pushover. He would be like, well, Sinclair, me and you ain't dating. You know, he had his stand-up times. Well, look, me and you ain't never make nothing official. Me and you ain't dating, you dig? Basically. And he done it in a nice way. And she said, know what? We need to talk about that. And that's when I believe they first had kissed, you dig? And that was some real shit for me because he was like, look, man, I've been spending all this time with you. You ain't even my girl like that. We not together like that. And she womaned up and was like, you know what? We need to change that shit, you dig? And it's shit like that that make you love this show overall. Well, that make me love this show, you heard me? Just look at it. It's just really black excellence, dog. I just love the images they portray, bro. And you don't see shit like that no more, bro. Do y'all see that? What we see? I saw a show called Soul Man with Said the Entertainer, bro. That shit was so terrible. His daughter was so disrespectful. He a preacher, man. I think I'm about to do a video on that next, just to tell y'all about see the differences. They took the value and morals out of shit, y'all. They really did, bro. They took that out. But shows like Living Single, they gonna forever be classics for me, you dig? Forever. Like I've been was like, man, let me do a show about do a fucking video about Living Single. People probably be shocked as hell. How this nigga doing a show about Living Single? But that's all I got left, y'all. Man, once again, y'all holler at me.